like. So even like judging myself as being bad for ill will is still a preoccupation. Still preoccupied, no? Whereas the Brahma Viharas are ways of freeing the mind from those preoccupations. I found like Karuna, compassion, was when I was taking care of my mother, I had to differentiate. There was something about my Karuna which was I was getting very exhausted, getting very tired taking care of Mom, and I could see that the Karuna was very strong, the Metta was very strong, the Mudita was very strong. Like if my mother, because my mother, she was 90 plus and she didn't eat much, so if I found anything she wanted to eat, I was so happy. So one day I found she liked macaroons. So we got industrial quantities of macaroons and I ate most of them, I think. But anyway, I was so happy. I was so happy to see her actually eating something. That's Mudita, isn't it? Mudita. But there was something out. Something wasn't working. And I realized that I wanted her not to be old and suffering. And that was a lack of Upekkha. And Upekkha is the empathy of Dharma. Upekkha is equanimity. But equanimity is not indifference. It's not that. And in the BrahmaViharas teaching, I always take equanimity as part of a fourfold teaching. Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. Goodwill, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Without the other three, equanimity would be a kind of a dryness and wasteland. So I was, watching my own sensitivity to my mom, and deep love of her, deep gratitude to her, and so on and so forth. And there was something wrong. And I realized I was still attached. I didn't want her to have pain. Now that seems like obviously you don't want your mom to have pain and your kids to have pain, but as Lompo was saying in his talk, that's a part of the curriculum. It's a part of the deal, like it or not. And I just like seeing that my mom, when she started to have pain, I'd get all uptight and fussy, and she actually didn't help her. Stop being fussy. Come on. And I could see that not only do I need compassion and these joyous qualities too, that I need to have empathy for the way things are, the truth of the way things are, which is equanimity. And the truth of the way things are is always very immediate. It's like this. Right? And it has no explanation. And it has no name. And it has no definition. It is just like this. Lompo Sumedo, if you hear some of his recent teachings, it's permanent. He just keeps saying, it's like this. And I think, 50 years, that's all you can say? But, no. Why does he say that? Why does he, all those years of practice, why does he say, it's like this? Because that brings his mind, I think his mind is pretty still much of the time, but that brings the mind to stillness. It's like this. So when I was caring for my mom, and then I was feeling for her, she had osteoporosis and arthritis and a whole litany of complaints an old person has. And I'd see the compassion and I'd look at the word. And then I'd say, but it's like this. Old age is like this. Not good, not bad, not fun. Mom kept saying, he's forgotten me. Christian. So God's left me. And just watching, like my mom, she was so ready to die. She was just so fed up with her body. And it wasn't a wrong readiness to die. It was a really natural thing. The body was past its use-by date. And then I'd see that, and I'd feel, I wish it wasn't this way, but it is this way. It's like this. And saying that does not preclude compassion, does it? It doesn't mean that I don't act in ways to help a person who is suffering. I still act. But what I do is I try to let go of the worry, the anxiety, and the desire to have life according to my pattern, according to my desires. according to my program. The life, of course, doesn't fit my program. It is the way it is. So I find that the Brahma Viharas are really beautiful reflections, and as our sponsor said, it's a beautiful day. And beauty is one of the things that Luang Por Chah taught me. One day I was a samanera, and I was helping to lay out the gear that we had as monks, the spittoons and water jugs and sitting cloths and so on. And there were one of the spittoons was a bit astray, so I was kicking it around with my foot. Not a good idea. Luang Por Chah says, "That's the way." He said, "It's not beautiful." And I thought, what a lovely way to teach. And I said, "You idiot, Viradhammo. Your culture is so sloppy, come on." He didn't do that. He said, "That's not beautiful." And so beauty is a way of like training it. Training in speech, training in bodily movement, training in action. Is something that is a lovely way to consider one's life, rather than just being self-critical all the time. You know, we're all working towards a better expression of ourselves in the world, I think, and the way we act and speak, a better expression inwardly and so on. But to do that from a sense of beauty and empathy and those kinds of qualities is very doable. It's very doable. But if we approach this lovely Buddhist path in a way of force, in a way of self-criticism, in a way of harshness, it won't really take you there, because harshness doesn't really work. What really works is love. Love really does work well. And love abides here. And much of our life is here. Right? So to actually learn how to bring your attention to the center of your chest rather than to the center of your brain. It's quite hard, isn't it? Because the habit of the critical mind, the habit of the doubting mind, the habit of the worrying mind, the habit of the frightened and terrified mind is very much to go into thought. That's okay. And yesterday we were thinking about right thought, we were considering right thought. But empathy, like when you see, like a young girl brought me a beautiful little present with covered in red cloth, and I opened it up, and it looked like felted hearts. Beautiful. Now you could say, "You sentimental old monk." You could say that, but that would be cynical, wouldn't it? But just like appreciating, oh, here's someone who's gone to trouble to make a package and offer it to me is a kind of beautiful thing. And what to do with that? Well, bring it here. You know, that's what you can do. You know, what does it really feel like when someone is kind and someone is generous and someone makes the effort to do something? What does that feel like here? That's where you feel it, don't you? And you register that. You say, oh yeah. So, I used to do this with my mom. When I used to, on the weekends, I'd get some respite and go to the monastery, and the rest of the time I was in her condo in Ottawa. And on the way back, on the Sunday afternoon, the driver would take me to a Loblaw store and we'd get some cut flowers. My mom loved flowers. And then we'd get to her place, and I'd have the flowers behind my back and all that kind of stuff. And then I would give her the flowers, and she would be so happy, partially to get me back, and flowers. And what I do, I just register this. Oh, this is joy. This is love. This feels here. This is here. And then in the evening, I'd always start my meditation with that. I bring up that memory. I remember that, but I wouldn't try to manufacture the feeling. I just go to the heart and allow that to vibrate here. And this is the Brahma Vihara. It rests here. And what I found, if I encourage that and reinforce that, then that became in me, it's more and more a place of abiding. And the interesting thing about that is as attention is held more in the heart rather than the head, is one of the ways of practice that we do. When the heart contracts with fear and anger and so on, it's also noticed there. You also notice it there, rather than it just going off into tripping off into thinking. So the development of the heart and the development of love and development of compassion, these are universals in spiritual life, aren't they? They always have been and always will be. But it's not the love that's based on attachment. It's not the love that's based on eroticism. It's not the love that's based on I love fish and chips and burritos. It's a much more profound thing. And we're always touched by that. So nature, I think nature has a particular way of touching us that way. It's probably why people live here, right? You go to the mountains or you go to the forest, and then all of a sudden your mind stops. And notice that it's not about the tree, it's about your mind. The stillness is about your mind. And then try to bring that into the city, to the traffic jam. Difficult, but it's always there, it's always a possibility. But we need refreshment, we need places, we need people who open our hearts in that way, and then we're very, very grateful for that. So my heart feels very open, and so I'm very grateful to all of you for being here, for the Ajahns and Ajahn Siddhanta. Nice to meet Mom over here. Mom is writing notes or something, looking at her emails. Anyway, it's very nice to be with you. You got honorable mention. This is what happens when you're the mom of a monk. So thank you for welcoming me. If anyone's ever in Ontario, near Ottawa, please come and visit. So I wish you all the very best in your practice of Dhamma. May you realize the above.